My name is Wayne from TRAX Power Dolly Systems, and today I'm going to do an unboxing video. This is our TX6000, so if you do order one, this is exactly what you'll get. It's going to come in this box. The box itself is about 125 pounds, so it is fairly heavy. I suggest you get someone to help you move it. And what we need, we're going to get an X-Acto knife. This thing you can see is taped all over the place. There's some nice handles. We're just going to go in here, we're going to cut along the sides, like so, and across the top. Be careful not to go too deep with your knife. I just have my knife just set a tiny bit there. Set the knife down, and you can see what we have inside. So, we have a cardboard lid that's going to come out. Now, here's the top view. This is how we pack it, and we do our very best to pack it safely so it arrives without damage. The trouble is, this thing is going to go on a truck from this location. It's going to go to the airport. It's going to get on a FedEx airplane. It's going to fly to wherever, a sorting facility, back on a truck to your door. A lot of wiggling and shaking, so we do have the odd time someone will power this up and say, my machine doesn't work. Well, it's just something silly. It's something simple as wiggled loose, and if you do have that issue, you can email me, wayne@traxpowerdolly.com, and I'll get in touch with you right away and we'll figure out a solution. So you can see here, first thing is a foam block. You just lift this guy out, and that just keeps the machine from shifting back and forth. Now you'll see these inserts on both sides. Inside here, here's a little pouch. So I can tell right away this customer did not order a battery charger, because if he did, this will come in a box with the battery charging components. So these are your battery insulator boots. We'll set them aside. Now, we're just gonna lift this up. And you'll see inside here now, we pack some accessory stuff. So this is our handle right here. Okay, so now carefully with our knife, we're just gonna slit across here. Just a little foam block is gonna come out on each side, and that just protects the handle against the ground. Then we can lift up. This is our handle. Now you can see it says on here, no blade. What that means, no knife, no blade, because we've got some wires in here, and if you just start randomly cutting across to open up this package, there's a foam handle you're gonna cut, there's some wires you could shear off, so this is, unfortunately, you're gonna pry this apart with your fingers. So, this might be a pain. Of course, this tape is too strong. Let's see, we have some stretchy wrap stuff here. So please take your time, because taking an extra minute to do this is much better than calling me up and say I cut the wire off. So you can see the handle inside of here. We can just slide it off, and there's our handle. So we're going to set that aside on the table. This stuff here obviously goes in the trash can. On our other side here, this is actually our ball stand in here. So we're going to bring it over. Carefully cut the tape off. This is not so fragile because it's all steel, so the worst you can do is scratch the paint. Obviously, be careful with your knife. Okay, this is our ball stand. This is what it's like, and you'll see that the ball is already attached right into the ball stand. If you did by chance order 2 balls or 3 balls, the extra balls will be in another box inside the container. So we will unwrap this guy, and I'm just going to use a knife because it's going to be easier. Okay, so here's your ball stand. We can set aside. Now, here's the machine As it sits now, it's probably 100 pounds. So I suggest you get someone to help you take it out of the box. Basically, we're just gonna grab it. You can look down here. I can reach around under the frame. And also back here, I can just kind of get down and get my hands tucked in there. So I'm gonna grab it like this. Okay, so it's 100 pounds, it's quite heavy. Now we're carefully just gonna undo all the wrapping on here. Okay, this is how it looks. Now, first step, in the back of the machine here, the handle's gonna go in here. So we're gonna take this clip off. So this is just a piece of spring-loaded metal here. So the clip comes out. We're gonna get our handle. So obviously this hole here is gonna slide in and line up with that hole and pin right through the whole thing. And the handle obviously goes parallel to the ground. You don't put it in like that, that wouldn't make sense. So it goes like so. We're just gonna slide it in until it lines up. Then we're gonna put this pin in place. Snap that around. Now, this little cord here, if you look at this thing, you'll see there's a little groove on the top. And that groove is gonna correspond, you'll see there's a picture here showing a groove on the top, and inside of that little socket, you'll see there's a little metal groove. So with this groove up, you're gonna set it in place. Just give it a light little wiggle. It'll go in, and then you tighten up the thumb screw. Now, you will also see here we have an on-off switch and a fast-slow switch. Obviously, this is a low speed, so if you're maneuvering your trailer up tight against obstacles, you would want to have it in slow or in fast. That's going to give you the full speed out of the machine. And you can also control the throttle with your thumb switch up here. So even in fast, if you just have a tiniest little bit of input, it's going to go quite slow, and the farther you go down, the faster it will go. Also, you'll notice up here this gray button, that's a push button. So you'll push it in and out, and that selects between forward and reverse gears on the machine. And finally, on the top of the handle, you'll see us once we get our batteries in, this little piece of plastic will come off. These 3 indicator lights, and those show you your battery level. So obviously, 3 lights on means full battery, and then as your batteries drain, you'll go to 2 and to 1. Okay. So your ball stand basically just drops in here. That's how it goes. And this handle, when it's connected to a trailer, the handle's going to be up, and then it's going to pivot around as you turn the machine. I'm going to take this right out now, and we're going to talk about the batteries, and we'll get back to the ball stand in a minute. So if we open up our lid here, you're going to see inside, so we have our battery quick connectors. They come attached to the machine, that's how we ship it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take those apart. So you just grab both of them, just give a little wiggle back and forth with some slight pulling pressure. Those come out. You'll also notice inside here, we have a nylon strap clip, and there's a little instruction sheet. So this instruction sheet talks about a few things. First thing on here, go to our website, traxpowerdolly.com, and look at this video. And this is what you're watching right now, is this video, which is described on here. So please read that. It talks about some safety issues. This clip here, so you basically 2 fingers and you just put a little pressure there. You slide that guy open, and it's snugged right up. So you're gonna tip this over the side, pull it up like so, so you have kind of the maximum amount of usable strap. And then once we get the batteries installed, we'll snug that up again. You'll see how that works. Okay, so the batteries I have here, if you get them from us, this is the way they're gonna ship. So they're we get them from a company called UPG. They're a universal battery, 12350 is the serial number. This is how they look. So if we open one of these things up, and here is these clips. So I'm gonna just do one, but also this is what you want when you're finished. So we're gonna open this battery. You're gonna find inside the battery's gonna come with the bolt, 2 bolts and the washers and nuts to hook our quick connectors up to. There's the battery. Just like so. Now, you're gonna take your 3 quick connectors. You will see these are labeled. We have positive to red, negative to black. Same thing on the battery. They're color coded, so it's pretty hard to mess it up. So what you're after is you're just gonna pry them out like so. We're gonna open up our little bolts here. And one thing we don't want to forget is we're gonna put these rubber boots on before the bolts go on. Well, I said I'll get that in a minute. So we're gonna do obviously positive and negative. So we're gonna slide the red onto the red wire, black onto the black. And the purpose of this is once they're on and installed, you have a nice insulated cover, so you can take any metal object, you know, you're not going to short the battery out, because that's very important. So we want the bolt, we want the head to be on this side, because we don't want to have it, if it were turned around the other way, we don't want that bolt hanging out because the batteries are going tight side to side. So we want them all internal as much as possible. So the bolt's gonna go on. We're gonna put our battery lug on. We're gonna go a regular washer, like so. We're gonna do this little lock washer, and then our nut. Okay, do the same thing on the other side. We're gonna tighten them up. So the bolt's gonna go in. Regular washer. Lock washer, and our nut. Okay, and I believe these are 3/8 wrenches. So we're just gonna take 3/8 wrench. We're gonna snug them up. You don't need to, they're a small bolt. You don't need to go super tight because you don't want to strip them, but you want it snug enough. Okay, they're tight now. All we have to do is slide these boots over. And you kind of have to fight these a little bit. They can be tight. But you just want to pry it over so it covers completely over the bolt. Same idea with this one. There we go. So now we have our insulate, everything is insulated and safe with our quick connector. We do that 3 more times. So this is what you have. You'll have 3 batteries all done up. So we'll bring these over to the machine and I'll show you how to install them. The way we have designed this unit is all of our red connections are a 12-volt connection, and then our gray here is our 36-volt. So as long as you have red to positive, black to negative, there's really no way to mess up the battery connections. Okay, so these guys are in. Now, it doesn't matter, you know, you could hook this to any one of these. You just take these guys, snap them together. And I just push everything down so it lays flat. And then the last thing we want to do is this strap here. So we're going to connect this guy up, and then we're just going to snug these. And actually what you can do, take it apart and just tighten it a little bit more. Snap it together. Get it out as tight as you can. But the purpose of that is, for some reason, if the machine goes upside down and we don't dump the batteries out and lose them, plus they don't hurt anybody by falling out. So this is just a safety item. Now, you will see in here we have a circuit breaker right in here. That's for our main motor. And then we also have here, these are like an automotive style inline fuse. These two guys here, they go through and they run up and they protect the machine against your trailer wiring. So sometimes people have an older trailer, no one wants to admit this, but their wiring can get corroded, they can have troubles with their trailer. Something is shorted out in their trailer, it's gonna come back and blow this fuse and not damage anything in the machine. And then this big breaker here is if you really load the machine up, it'll blow that and you just push it or resets it and you're ready to go again. So next thing over here, the power switch. So if we turn the power switch on, what you're looking for up on the handle is the red lights to come on. So I'm going to flip that, and right away I see my lights didn't come on. So what that tells me is we have a battery connection. So what you want to do, and there I see it says first one right away, you want to wiggle your battery connectors here and just get all of these, just kind of give them a little wiggle so everything seats properly. And then as soon as I do that, you just keep watching the handle and you'll see that it can flicker on and off. But once everything is seated properly, you know you have a good connection and you're okay. So we have a full 36 volts running through the machine. So now we can close the lid. Lid is closed. We put our ball stand in. And the machine is actually ready to drive. So if I touch the throttle here, you'll see the machine is ready to drive. I have it at slow speed right now. If I want to back it up, I just push the gray button, goes into reverse, backs up again. One thing I want to say is that when you do power the machine on, we do have it's a computerized motor controller inside. So when the machine is off, if you watch this, if I turn it on and instantly try to touch the throttle, nothing's going to happen because that computer in there needs about 4 seconds to boot up. So if I turn it on right away and I touch the throttle, we get nothing. But if I wait the 4 seconds, it does its thing. Now the machine's going to drive. We don't want to run off the table. So up fast and slow. So you can see the fast if I put it in forward. It'll go pretty quick. So you want to be cautious of that. Okay, so the machine is ready to drive. We're all set. Obviously, I have this on a table just to show you. I recommend you install the batteries down on the ground so you're not going to pick up the heavy machine again. Now we're going to talk about this part here. This is our over center cam ball mount and how we connect this to a trailer. So the idea of this is you'll see as I move this handle, this whole pressure plate moves up. And what it does is goes up, and when you put your trailer connector on there, they'll typically have a little switch of some sort, and it sticks a little kind of a catch on the back side of the ball, and it captures the ball. When I go up with this thing, it's basically clamping itself, pulling up on the tongue of the trailer as tight as possible, and then locking itself square to the tongue of your trailer. So I'm going to demonstrate with a couple different hitches that we have. But what we've done in this, there's a removable puzzle tab piece, because some trailers have a little steel weldment underneath, so we need to clear that. And then also your ball just screws up and down, and the threads you should find are fairly loose on this. And this is our adjustment. So as you clamp this thing up, if you find that if it's too loose, you want to screw the ball down a little bit. And then if it's too tight, you need to basically lift the ball up a little bit until you find the right spot. And I'll demonstrate that in a second. So I'm going to grab a couple hitches. Okay, so right now I have a 2-inch ball in here, and it's critical that you match your ball with your trailer. So on all trailers, so this will say stamped in here, this needs a 2-inch ball. Obviously if you had a 2 5/16 ball, it wouldn't fit on there. But if you had a 2 5/16 hitch, like this one, you put that onto that ball, basically it just drops on and off. It won't hang on to it. So the ball has to be matched to the trailer. Now, on the bottoms of certain hitches, you'll see this one here's got a nice flat surface. That is why we have a flat plate on here, but we have this removable piece. So it's flat right now. So with this style of a hitch, you're gonna want that plate on there. And then this is the part I'm talking about that basically captures the ball. So when you flip that handle over, this little mechanism goes up underneath, grabs onto the ball. So when that thing goes on, and you flip that over, now it's basically hanging onto that ball. The design of this hitch is that the handle here wants to be, I guess, in this orientation. So it wants to be on the left side of the machine. You know, the tongue of your trailer is going to be on the right. But what you need to watch for is this little removable puzzle piece needs to be facing your trailer. That's so you can orientate this. There's also a little catch on here that's facing your trailer. You don't want to have it turned this way. It's designed to be like this. So when that guy goes on, you flip it over and lock it. Now, I want to push up on this thing. You'll see the pressure plate goes up. Now I'm all the way up and you can see I've got air gap in here, so I'm too loose. So what that means, I'm going to take it off again. I need to screw the ball down some. There we go. So this wants to be nice and tight. You want to push it over center, and you hear that click. So basically it's just like a chain binder or a vice grip. It wants to click boom over center. So now this connector is locked nice and square. So if you look at this thing, our whole purpose is the tongue of your trailer, we want to lock it, and now using our 2 power wheels we can drive it back and forth without the unit tipping. We implemented a safety hole pin lockout. Your option if you decide to use it. If you want to, when you're up in the up position, you can basically put a pin in there and then it's not going to come out. It can't accidentally be bumped and come undone. So here's a little different style connector. This is called a Bulldog. These are pretty nice. Now this will say it's a 2 5/16. So every connector will always say stamped on it what size of ball you need. So I've got a 2-inch here, so I need to switch this out. So I'm going to remove my 2-inch, and I've got a 2 5/16 I'll put in place. Now, you'll also notice on the bottom of this, it's fairly flat across here. So, same idea with this. So we're gonna just check it on here. I'm gonna get a rough idea. That's probably pretty close. I'm gonna close this connector. This has a nice collar that swings over, so it clamps on and locks in place. So, actually this is pretty good right where I have it. Boom, it locks over center. You've got no air gap underneath. It's nice and secure, so no matter what, it's going to stay locked 90 degrees. And then when you're operating it, obviously you want to have the handle over the left tire of the unit or on, from your trailer on, I guess the right side of your trailer. What you don't want is you don't want the handle, you're not after it like this. You don't want the handle directly against the machine. You want it turned 90 degrees to the machine like this. The reason now is I'll show you on another style of connector. So, this style of connector, you'll see underneath there's a little weldment on here. So now we have a flat surface and then we have this little bump. That's why we have made this removable puzzle tab piece. So we just take it off, put it in a safe spot, don't lose it. Now when this thing goes on, now it's got a different connector. This thing is a slide down. When we bring that up, you'll see now we have some clearance in here for that weldment. Okay, so that is locked nice. So you can see from this point forward, or a good probably 75% of that flange surface, we have a solid contact. and we have a little air gap on the back. And that's okay to have that air gap. As long as we have good contact around, you know, a good 70 to 75% of the flange, we're in good shape. I just want to go through this little D-ring on the front. If you do find you're in a situation where you have one of these stamped out kind of lighter duty hitches where the thickness of this flange material is not so thick, so if it's under 1/8 of an inch, and you start backing up quickly and you find you get a lot of pressure, you're concerned about this flange here bending, we do have this item is going to come with your kit. And this thing is designed, so imagine here's the tongue of your trailer. Here's a trailer jack, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna slide this thing up, and you'll see, these are standard. These are a standard 2-inch jack, and most trailers are gonna be this way. So this thing is bigger, and that's okay. It'll slide right up and over. So you'll slide that up, and then you're going to hook it on to that D-ring. Keep it up level, and then you're just gonna snug it up. It doesn't need to be super duper tight, but you're just gonna snug it up. So now what'll happen is as you accelerate backwards, this is gonna take that kind of shock force out of it and stabilize it. Now, this is only necessary if you're doing some quick accelerating, if you have to accelerate over a curb or a big bump. But I also wanna say that this whole force on the system is all about momentum. So realistically, with this thing down, as long as I control my throttle really, really slow and I have slow acceleration and slow deceleration, I can actually move the trailer with this down. The purpose of this though is as it goes up, once you start turning, so I'm turning the machine, so my trailer's here, I turn the machine. If I get any kind of bumps or anything or some kind of momentum, it just stops the machine and gives it some stability so it doesn't roll over. When we designed this, we did our very best to try and design something that would work for every trailer available on the market. We have come to realize there are quite a few different hitch styles that we run into issues with. So this is meant to move most trailers, but it's not going to work on everything. So for example, I have a couple, these are an Atwood style hitch. They're very common. And there's two different styles. So one is basically, this is the part that hooks onto the tongue, and it's fairly flat on the bottom. So when that guy goes on there, now this is one that has to remove the puzzle piece. That would be obviously tightened up a little bit more, but it's fairly flat. The one I want to draw your attention to is this Atwood style. It's got a curve up on the bottom. So we have a flat surface, that guy goes on, we lock it down. Now, when you push up on that, you can see the back end here, this is basically level, and we want to have our jack post wants to be square to the tongue of the trailer, and you can see all this extra space we have in here. So the tendency for people is to, crank this thing up tight. Well, now you can see the angle that we're going on. So when you tighten that up, what's going to happen is the back wheel of the machine is going to come up 7 inches off the ground because all the mass of the trailer is holding it square. That's fine, you can go straight forward and backward, but as soon as you want to turn this thing, what's going to happen? It's going to want to dig the wheel in the ground and cause you a bunch of issues. So we do have a fix for this. We have a removable plate here. So this removable piece, we have another one that we can provide for you. You need to let us know in advance that has a welded plate to it. So you would remove this, put the new piece in that has a welded angular plate on there that will accommodate this. Another thing I want to point out is if you do have your tail wheel, as you're moving, comes off the ground a little bit, that's not the end of the world. It's okay. As long as this is nice and tight, it's okay for this thing to be off the ground, maybe a couple inches. Anything more than that, you should be concerned and give us a call. Another thing I want to talk about is battery chargers. We do have quite a few people, they call up, they order a machine, they decide not to get the battery charger, and then a week later, they order a battery charger separately. So I want to show you, over here I've got a machine with a battery charger in it. You open it up and you'll find this is an 8-hour charger right in the lid of the machine. I direct wire it right into our harness. So you'll see there's 2 wires going in here, positive, negative. And this is providing 36 volts of charging into the machine. And then we go out to 3 individual batteries. I just want to explain the wiring. So if someone does get the 8-hour after the fact, because they think, okay, well, I have a 12-hour battery charger at home, that's great, you can charge them, but you've got to charge this one, wait for it to finish, you got to go out and switch it to this one, so it's 3 different times you're switching batteries. You can do that, but for the convenience of just plug it in and it's done, this is our 8-hour. If you get it separately, you're going to come in. So this guy is going to come a longer lead here, and you can just undo these 2 bolts. It'll just actually just bolt right in there. But you now have a positive and a negative. And what you need to do is, this is 36 volts. Each battery is 12. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to split this apart. The positive of one battery, and as a general rule, just follow this one that has the little red wire. So you go positive to this battery, but then you need to go negative way over to this guy. The reason being is it's got to work from here, it's got to go through this one to make the 36 volt connection. So you would just screw on the terminals like this, and that's how you would connect this 8-hour charger after the fact if you decide not to get it right away with your machine.